On the night of the 10th of May, 1941, with one of the last bombs of the last serious raid, our House of Commons was destroyed by the violence of the enemy, and we have now to consider whether we should build it up again, and how, and when. We shape our buildings, and afterwards our buildings shape us. Having dwelt and served for more than 40 years in the late chamber, and having derived very great pleasure and advantage therefrom, I naturally should like to see it restored in all essentials to its old form, convenience, and dignity. I believe that will be the opinion of the great majority of its members. It is certainly the opinion of His Majesty's Government, and we propose to support this resolution that a select committee be appointed to consider and report upon the plans for rebuilding the new house to the best of our ability. There are two main characteristics of the House of Commons which will command the approval and support of reflective and experienced members. They will, I have no doubt, sound odd to foreign ears. The first is that its shape should be oblong and not semicircular. Here is a very potent factor in our political life. The semicircular assembly, which appeals to political theorists, enables every individual or every group to move round the center, adopting various shades of pink according as the weather changes. I am a convinced supporter of the party system in preference to the group system. I have seen many earnest and ardent parliaments destroyed by the group system. The party system is much favored by the oblong form of chamber. It is easy for an individual to move through those insensible gradations from left to right, but the act of crossing the floor is one which requires serious consideration. I am well informed on this matter, for I have accomplished that difficult process not only once, but twice. Logic is a poor guide compared with custom. Logic which has created in so many countries semicircular assemblies with buildings that give to every member not only a seat to sit in, but often a desk to write at, with a lid to bang, has proved fatal to the parliamentary government as we know it here in its home and in the land of its birth. The second characteristic of a chamber formed on the lines of the House of Commons is that it should not be big enough to contain all its members at once without overcrowding, and that there should be no question of every member having a separate seat reserved for him. The reason for this has long been a puzzle to uninstructed outsiders, and has frequently excited the curiosity and even the criticism of new members. Yet it is not so difficult to understand if you look at it from a practical point of view. If the House is big enough to contain all its members, 9/10 of its debates will be conducted in the depressing atmosphere of an almost empty or half-empty chamber. The essence of good House of Commons speaking is the conversational style, the facility for quick, informal interruptions and interchanges. Harangues from a rostrum would be a bad substitute for the conversational style in which so much of our business is done. But the conversational style requires a fairly small space, and there should be, on great occasions, a sense of crowd and urgency. There should be a sense of the importance of much that is said, a sense that great matters are being decided there and then by the House. We attach immense importance to the survival of parliamentary democracy. In this country, this is one of our war aims. We wish to see our Parliament a strong, easy, flexible instrument of free debate. For this purpose, a small chamber and a sense of intimacy are indispensable. It is notable that the Parliaments of the British Commonwealth have to a very large extent reproduced our parliamentary institutions in their form as well as in their spirit, even to the chair in which the speakers of the different assemblies sit. We do not seek to impose our ideas on others. We make no invidious criticism to other nations. All the same, we hold nonetheless tenaciously to them ourselves. The vitality and authority of the House of Commons and its hold upon an electorate based upon universal suffrage, depend to no small extent upon its episodes and great moments, even upon its scenes and rows, which, as everybody will agree, are better conducted at close quarters. Destroy that hold which Parliament has upon the public mind, and has preserved through all these changing, turbulent times, and the living organism of the House of Commons will be greatly impaired. You may have a machine, but the House of Commons is much more than a machine. It has earned and captured and held through long generations the imagination and respect of the British nation. It is not free from shortcomings. They mark all human institutions. Nevertheless, I submit to what is probably a not unfriendly audience on that subject, that our House has proved itself capable of adapting itself to every change which the swift pace of modern life has brought upon us. It has a collective personality which enjoys the regard of the public, and which, imposing itself upon the conduct not only of individual members, but of parties. It has a code of its own, which everyone knows, and it has means of its own of enforcing those manners and habits which have grown up and have been found to be an essential part of our parliamentary life. The House of Commons has lifted our affairs above the mechanical sphere into the human sphere. It thrives on criticism. It is perfectly impervious to newspaper abuse or taunts from any quarter, and it is capable of digesting almost anything or almost any body of gentlemen, whatever be the views with which they arrive. There is no situation to which it cannot address itself with vigor and ingenuity. It is the citadel of British liberty. It is the foundation of our laws. Its traditions and its privileges are as lively today as when it broke the arbitrary power of the Crown and substituted that constitutional monarchy under which we have enjoyed so many blessings. In this war, the House of Commons has proved itself to be a rock upon which an administration, without losing the confidence of the House, has been able to confront the most terrible emergencies. The House has shown itself able to face the possibility of national destruction with classical composure. It can change governments, and has changed them by heat of passion. It can sustain governments in long, adverse, disappointing struggles through many dark, grey months, and even years, until the sun comes out again. Now, I do not know how else this country can be governed than by the House of Commons playing its part in all its broad freedom in British public life. We have learned, with these so recently confirmed facts around us and before us, not to alter improvidently the physical structures which have enabled so remarkable an organism to carry on its work of banning dictatorships within this island and pursuing and beating into ruins all dictators who have molested us from outside. His Majesty's government are most anxious, and are indeed resolved, to ask the House to adhere firmly in principle to the structure and characteristics of the House of Commons we have known. And I do not doubt that is the wish of the great majority of members in this, the second longest Parliament of our history. I am bound to say that I rank the House of Commons, the most powerful assembly in the whole world, at least as important as a fortification or a battleship, even in time of war. Politics may be very fierce and violent in the after-war days. We may have all the changes in personnel following upon a general election. We shall certainly have an immense press of business, and very likely of stormy controversy. We must have a good, well-tried, and convenient place in which to do our work. The House owes it to itself, it owes it to the nation, to make sure that there is no gap, no awkward, injurious hiatus in the continuity of our parliamentary life. I am today only expressing the views of the government, but if the House sets up the committee, and in a few months' time the committee give us their report, we shall be able to take decisions together on the whole matter, and not be caught at a disadvantage in what must inevitably be a time of particular stress and crisis at the end of the war from a parliamentary point of view. Therefore, I ask that this committee should be set up, and I feel sure that it will be able to make a good plan of action, leaving the necessary latitude to the government as to the time when this action can be taken and the speed at which it can be carried into effect, having regard to the prime exigencies of the war. We owe, Mr. Speaker, a great debt to the House of Lords for having placed at our disposal this spacious, splendid hall. We have already expressed in formal resolution our thanks to them. We do not wish to outstay our welcome. We have been greatly convenienced by our sojourn on these red benches and under this gilded, ornamented, statue-bedecked roof. I express my gratitude and my appreciation of what we have received and enjoyed, but mid pleasures and palaces, though we may roam, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home.